Hello and welcome to TradeFlow Television,
bringing you valuable analysis and actionable intelligence
through the global commodity markets.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. China's major copper smelters boosted cathode production in June by 0.6% year-on-year to 699,000 tons, ANTIC, the research arm of the country's Non-Ferrous Metal Association, said on Thursday. The total was up 0.9% from a revised 693,000 tons for May due to a smaller impact on supply from maintenance among the 22 smelters surveyed. January to June output was down 0.8% year-on-year at 4.1 mln tons. China's refined lead production in June rose 13.2% year-on-year to 418,000 tons, ANTIC said, adding that it saw output falling around 3,000 tons month-on-month in July due to overhauls at smelters in Yunnan, Hunan, and Jiangxi. June refined tin output from 18 smelters rose 5.9% month-on-month to 12,081 tons, ANTIC said, without giving a year-on-year comparison.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Natural gas flows to U.S. liquefied natural gas export plants plunged this month after falling to a 20-month low in June as coronavirus lockdowns cut global demand for the fuel. Before the pandemic slashed energy demand, U.S. producers counted on LNG exports to keep growing fast as an outlet for their record gas output. But after soaring 68% in 2019 and 53% in 2018, U.S. LNG exports were only expected to rise about 7% in 2020. Gas pipeline flows to U.S. LNG export plants dropped to an average of 3.1 billion cubic feet per day (BCFD) so far in July from a 20-month low of 4.1 BCFD in June and a record high of 8.7 BCFD in February, according to Refinitiv data.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Farm Office France Agrimer raised its estimate for 2019-20 French soft wheat exports outside the European Union to a new record on Wednesday, but forecast shipments would fall steeply in the new season on the back of a much smaller harvest. For the 2019-20 season that ended on June 30, France Agrimer pegged soft wheat exports to non-EU destinations at 13.6 million tons, compared with 13.45 million forecast last month and 41% above the 2018-19 level. That would be a record volume, surpassing an estimated 12.9 million tons in 2010-11.
Next we have agricultural price news.
Chicago wheat futures extended gains on Thursday to a new one-month peak as latest crop estimates in major exporting countries like Argentina, France and Russia raised question marks about global supply. Corn and soybeans were also higher, recovering from losses earlier in the week as weather forecasts predicted more intense heat arriving in the U.S. Midwest crop belt later this month. The most active wheat futures on the Chicago Board of Trade were up 0.6% by 1200 GMT at $5.19 minus 1/2 a bushel. They earlier climbed to $5.25 minus 3/4, their highest since June 5, adding to a 4% surge on Wednesday. Spot September wheat on Euronext also rallied further, reaching its highest in almost 6 weeks at $189.00, $214.33 a ton. CBOT soybean futures were up 0.7% at $9.03 minus 1/2 a bushel, while corn added 1.4% to $3.59 minus 1/4 a bushel.
We will now take a look at energy price moves.
Concerns about renewed coronavirus lockdowns in the United States outweighed signs of a recovery in U.S. gasoline demand on Thursday to keep a lid on oil prices. The market is also in a holding pattern ahead of a meeting on July the 15th of the Market Monitoring Panel of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies. Brent crude futures were down 9 cents, or 0.2%, to $43.20 by 14:29 GMT, after gaining 0.5% on Wednesday, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures slipped 31 cents, or 0.7%, to $40.59, after rising 0.7% the previous day.
Moving on to metal price moves.
Copper prices hit their highest in over a year on Thursday, spurred by hopes of a faster recovery in top consumer China and supply concerns in the world's biggest producer Chile. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange rose 1.7% to $6,341 a ton by 11:50 GMT after touching its highest since May 2019 at $6,360. The metal, used as a gauge of economic health, is up 2.7% so far this year and has largely recovered from a sell-off caused by the novel coronavirus.
Finally, we have the most recent news on the financial market.
The US dollar fell against most currencies on Thursday as a rally in riskier assets such as global equities and commodities put a dent in safe haven demand for the US currency. China's yuan rose to a 4-month high against the dollar, extending recent gains as investors of all stripes increased positions in Chinese stocks due to growing signs of a recovery in the world's second-largest economy. The euro hovered close to the 1-month high of $1.1371 it hit earlier in the day even after German export data failed to meet analysts' expectations. The British pound rose 0.3% to $1.2652, a 3-week high. The Chinese yuan soared to a 4-month high of 6.9808 in the offshore market and was last up 0.2% against the dollar at 6.9830. That is all for today's news on the commodity market. Stay tuned to TradeFlow TV as we continue to provide you with more updates. You can also follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow TV1, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop.